Welcome to Dance Talk Thursday evening in December. It's super dark outside, but very light in the music. So the track that's playing here in the background is by Megamind, and it's called Sturm und Drang, and it's a Pulsar mix. And if you don't know, Sturm und Drang means storm and stress, and it was a literal counterpart to the age of Enlightenment back in the late 1700s. And the Age of Enlightenment was a time for science and hard reason and objects, and that was needed at the time, moving from the more mystical world of religion. But we humans are not just creatures of reason, are we, Carlo?
Definitely not.
We
You're
also
speaking to not a creature of reason, for sure.
We are creatures of emotions, of feelings, and thus came the literature in Sturm und Drang. And I think that's a good point of introducing this podcast here, because Dance Talk is about talking about the music that we spend so many hours listening to on the dance floor. And I tried, when I moved on from organic music, I was playing guitar and bass in bands, to try to justify how's this music? There's no lyrics in it, there's no chorus that I know. It was more a feeling, and we carry that feeling on the dance floor as well. It's not like when you go to a regular concert and you know some of the songs, you know some of the lyrics, you're looking forward to hearing the banger. It's just like a big journey, basically. So that doesn't mean that our relationship to the music is superficial by any means. But who's playing? What are they playing? Where is it from? How does this connect to the rest of the club music history? I think that goes a little bit lost sometimes, because we are there for the party. So this show tries to put into words and add some depth to the history of the music that we love so much. And in order to do so, I invite local DJs and artists to come here and share their stories and their personal narratives on how they got into the music, the scenes that they've experienced, and of course, the music that they love. So, Carlo Molina, aka Lucky Lube, aka Carlo from Carlo and Selma.
Hello, hey, thank you for having me, son.
You're most welcome, Carlo, and thank you for coming. So the reason why I brought this track, besides telling a semi-coherent story about Sturm und Drang, is because this is Italian, and you're Italian.
Yes, I am.
So what do you know about Italian dance music?
Well, Italian dance music was very big in like the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s. I feel like I wasn't so much in tune with it, to be honest, when I grew up. I had this like big influence on my sister. She used to be a go-go dancer, so she was out a lot. And I remember more like connecting with that world in a different way. I was more of a stoner, so I would go to like, youth houses, and like I was more into like rock and metal, and also Nirvana, Pearl Jam, that kind of vibe.
You were into metal?
At some point, yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And then my sister, she was very much the opposite. She was like a go-go dancer, out and about. She was quite much older, so she had been through the 90s in Italy and been out in clubs, and I could see her when I was a kid, like when she was going out and getting dressed, and it was so fascinating. It was almost like she was going to, I don't know, on a mission somewhere that I had no idea. And it was very, very interesting. So I think I haven't lived that those years, obviously, because I'm born after that. But much of the music I play is actually from those years. So it's funny how it comes back.
So and where in Italy specifically are you from?
I grew up close to Venice.
Yeah, and does Venice have a nightlife / more specifically club scene where you go not listen to Rihanna and whatever, but like listening to 4/4 music.
Yeah, I mean, it used to.
Yeah. Also in
definitely.
your youth.
In my youth also, because do you know? I think we talked about it in this.
Yeah, we kind of did this before actually.
Yeah, we counted this before.
Yeah.
In this Get Personal with Vicente.
Yeah.
And then we
Find
talked
it on
about,
SoundCloud.
Yes. We talked about my interest for club music, like where it stems from, and then this DJ called Spiller, who did this single with Sophie Alex Baxter called Groove Jet. Like it was in the 2000s. That was mostly like house. He had a record label, and then I used to hang out with a group of friends that were doing videos for him. So I started touring with him. I mean, I went on a mini tour. It's not like I toured the world. It was just like Berlin and Hamburg, and then we were doing videos for him, and I was maybe like 16 or 17, going like underage into clubs and so on. So that's kind of where it really started for me.
Do you remember listening to the first track that you remembered back then, going back and finding it online or buying it in a record shop? We had those back in the days, by the way. But do you have any memory of, like, for me it would be, I can't actually remember like a track name, but like Infected Mushroom. I remember my older cousin was playing that. I remember The Prodigy as well. As my first thing, not when I was actually into the scene. So maybe that's actually what I'm asking. Like when you started to get into it, around age 16, do you remember some artists maybe?
I think it was a bit like the the MySpace era. So the French touch was very like house, definitely house. And then I also had like an Infected Mushroom phase at some point, but I really didn't like take this seriously. I mostly like was behind the scene, like helping producing the party, like doing the setting up the club and things like that. So I never thought of myself as actually a music selector as well. So I was more like interested in finding myself in that space and then contributing somehow.
Which is a big part of the community as well, especially in smaller communities, participating and contributing to the production around it or the party itself, But let's go back to that later on, because you said that you were not a selector back then, but I think that's how many people know you now from Copenhagen, especially. I mean, you're a part of Group Therapy, a very famous party here in the city. You're also part of Kara, is that true? Yeah. And you DJ with a variety of talented people here. So something I often hear from people who are not looking for the music back home in the apartment, but just go to the parties, is that they sometimes, especially initially, have a hard time saying, do I like techno? Do I like trance? What is trance anyway? So, Carlos, to describe you as a selector, I know that you've been through a journey, because I remember when the first time I saw you, I think you were playing mostly disco. Is that correct?
Yeah, I actually thought about this before coming here, and I was thinking like me and Selma were literally booked for every single Soul Train party I can imagine in Copenhagen, and it was just it's almost like people were projecting that we were only into disco. So it was they were kind of like putting us in a box, and then eventually we started being more adventurous, and like our universe expanded, and then I don't think we can stick to a genre. So even right now, it very depends on the night.
Okay, so I think many people in general knows what disco sounds like. Yeah. So nowadays, when you select in those variety of constellations and parties, could you give us just a couple of clues to? Because I want to make this a little bit of an educational show as well, and it's been in the past episodes. So I think I've kind of like built a terminology, hopefully, for people to understand all the terms that you use. So tell us now, in what genre, sphere, vibe do you play these days? And tonight, where Carlos also playing at the bedside. Release party at Bakken be there, be square. But yeah.
Well, I don't know. I feel like originally I draw a lot of my inspiration from like camp 80s or also 90s, mostly house or synth pop even. Like
For example,
this is like originally what I look like, the elements I look for in a track. It's also like the cheekiness, the campiness, the like something that speaks to me is just also that it represents a little bit like of me or like the queer world or like queer history, but like in terms of genre, like I don't know, I guess you would say it would be like progressive house, trance, but also a lot of percussions and tribal, whatever you think. It goes from 92 to 2008, 9, maybe more. That depends.
So last time we spoke, I spoke to Katinka Flom
Yeah.
about especially progressive music, and one thing that we haven't talked about in this show yet is tribal. So tribal, what do you personally put into that term when a track is tribal? It can be tribal techno, it can be tribal house, it can be tribal trance, I guess, it can be tribal anything really. So what do you put into it?
I think tribal is definitely like one of the dominating elements is driving percussions, and the type of percussion is also what makes it, I guess, tribal.
And can you
so it's
be
less
more specific?
Yeah, I mean, like it also doesn't have to be necessarily 4 to the floor. It mostly is, but like you know, I think it depends on the percussion for me.
Yeah.
So
I think of elements like conga,
yeah,
drums, bongo drums, like not too much.
not the classic like kick and snare. And
yeah, and the hi-hat.
Yeah. I love a hi-hat though.
And yeah, me too. And it's an interesting fact if you don't know out there. It's basically the exact same hi-hat that's been used for 97% of all club tracks that you ever listened to. And it's called the 909.
Oh, yeah.
It's a drum machine, and the sound from the hi-hat is that recognizable that when you know it, it's like tasting salt in your dish or tasting pepper or cumin. It's real, like all of it. And it still is fucking
works.
awesome.
Yeah.
But tribal, yeah, conga, bongo, like the sort of traditional instruments. I don't have vocabulary for it because I didn't really think about it before today. But sort of like, I think the reason why it's called tribal is not in a modern sense that, you know, we are a tribe when we are out clubbing, but more like as indigenous people, native people, tribal, because, and here again my knowledge comes short, but I imagine that they were fairly limited to what instruments they could produce, and one of the things that they didn't produce and use was drums, and that. Another thing that is also a part of, I think, the tribal term is that it's kind of like stripped down. It's more minimal maybe in the expression. It's not full of melody, big synth leads, roaring guitars, stuff like that, right?
Yeah, that progressive is more like that.
Yeah.
Big dramatic breaks.
Yeah. Are you going to play some of that tonight?
At bedside?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay. So, Carlo, I want to ask you, so let's listen to the first track. And here's a leading question. You told me that you kind of always look for that cheekiness or the cheesiness or some element. Do you have a track where you could just give us just a cue beforehand and then put it on and we can listen to it to see if we can find that cheekiness that you are looking for?
You want to hear the cheekiness?
Yeah. Please. And also just tell us if there's a specific part of the track that we should pay attention to sort of understand what you mean.
Okay, but...
Yeah, and I'm just going to keep talking here while Carlo puts on a track, and I can see that it's a blue track with a yellow label. No, I'm kidding. And we actually had a chat about this label beforehand, Perfecto. I don't know if you want to introduce it, Carlo?
Yeah, so this record, which is, you can't see it, but it's very bent. It's actually from 2000? Yes, 2001. So Perfecto, the label, is originally founded by Paul Oakenfold, who is now semi-cancelled. But the label is not his anymore, so I thought it was okay to bring this record. Also, I really like this record, and yeah, I think you'll hear the cheekiness. It's in the lyrics, but it's also in the percussions as well. The elements, they come in and out, and then just a bit of a surprise. It's that element of like, oh, I didn't see this coming a little bit, or you know.
What's the most cheesy element in that track?
Oh, definitely the lyrics.
Okay.
You'll hear it.
Okay, so yeah, let's put it on. And when was this produced? Do you know that?
2001.
Alrighty, early stuff here. 22 years old. Let's go.
She like changing up the energy.
Yeah, so this was She Writes by Diffuse and Joy. And it was as you said just a second ago, it's a naughty track.
It's a super naughty track. Like I didn't listen like carefully to the lyrics, but I know that somebody's talking about that someone rides something, a horse maybe.
We don't know.
So who's the artist behind this beauty here? I really love it, Carlo. Thanks for sharing.
Of course. That's Dustin Fusilier. Pronouncing it right.
Say what?
Diffuse is Dustin Fusilier. Anyway.
No idea. Diffuse.
But the label is Perfecto, which
yeah.
We talked about it before. It's iconic label.
Yeah, absolutely iconic label, Perfecto. So many bangers from that. A pity that the stories about Openfold has surfaced, but the label has meant so much for many artists and dancers alike, and he didn't run it by himself either. Grace, It's Not Over Yet is one of my absolute favorites, and it was also a Perfecto record from '96, I think. All right. So, how would you describe this vibe, like genre-wise?
I mean, I guess it is progressive still, a progressive house.
Why?
I guess just the sound elements, maybe the break. Although it's not as it's not as epic and dramatic as a lot of the progressive stuff. There's not, I don't know. I'm mostly happy that it plays, even though the record is really bent. And I think I really like the cheekiness and the naughtiness of the lyrics. So that also something I think I might play later tonight. Depends how it is.
I love it. It's amazing. I think something that about the progressive label or the progressive word is that you kind of you don't really know what's coming next. Anything could sort of happen, whereas I think it's more limited. Techno for example, or American deep house or whatever. I think has that, I'm gonna surprise you soon aspect to it in a way. Really lovely track, very bouncy. 2001, you said?
Yeah.
Or 2?
1.
All right. That's older than some people listening in. I mean, that's crazy that they had refined club music already 20 years ago. It blows my mind. All right, and that's it. So, Carlo, coming from Venice to Copenhagen, do you remember when we met?
I actually don't remember how we met.
I don't know. I don't
Do you
either.
remember how we met?
No, I was
I don't.
dressing to get over here. I was like, how did I meet Carlo? I actually have no idea. Really?
No. No.
It's
But that's the beauty of Copenhagen. It's it's small enough and it's very community focused, and all of a sudden you just know everyone, and and everyone supports each other, even between different parties, different scenes, different genres. It's just very. It's not a big city, but there's quite a lot for the size of it, and there's a lot of talent, and there's a lot of drive, a lot of passion, and a lot of also there's not a lot of competition or unhealthy competition. There's a lot of love for protecting this this environment, because we kind of are the minority within the city, right? And then I just love this aspect of Copenhagen. That's also why I'm still here, right?
When did you move here?
About end of 2015, I think.
Yeah. What was the driving force for you to move here?
I lived in Berlin for 5 years, and then I lived in Berlin for 5 years before coming here, and then I just started a master's program here. But also, Berlin was a little hectic in my 20s.
I always wanted to move there when I was in my 20s, and and I
yourself.
really wanted to move there, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, because I know where that would have gone. So yeah,
I think it was an experience and a very like formative one. I think if I didn't have that, I definitely wouldn't relate to this environment as I relate to it now. I think because I've experienced a lot, so now, you know, it's also a good place to like find your limits, find your bearings. Yeah, I don't know. I don't regret it. It's just like maybe not place where I want to live. I can visit very often. I'm going tomorrow, but like
yeah, because you're playing with your newly formed Kara artist collective. Is that true?
yeah,
Yeah.
we
So
have
tell us about that. What's that about? I just saw it suddenly. Somebody befriended me on Facebook, and Instagram. Facebook. No way! Wow.
wow.
On Instagram, I was like, "Who? What's here?" And it was just like talented people, parties apparently. So tell us a bit about that. I said before, you're already part of group therapy, and now also Kara. And
Yeah, so Cara means dear friend, both in Irish and in Italian, apparently. And then it wasn't like a plan to form it. It was more like it just happened. My friend Shifra, she's also a talented DJ. She's Irish, based in Berlin. She was just here over for a gig, and then it was summer, and then we just wanted to throw a Sunday party in the yard of Bakken, which vaguely looks like Berghaingarten, if you have a lot of imagination. But and so we just did that with Thea and Pop Mix and Casper Murat, and then it was really fun. So we did it more like 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 more times, and now we have one in Berlin. So you know, it's very like nothing like I don't even know where it's going, but it's just flowing, which is also nice. It's nice to work with them, and I really like all of them as DJs and producers, and so it's really exciting. And tomorrow it's at Zur Klappe, which is an old public toilet, but it's a club. So it's also I haven't been yet. I don't know. I think it's gonna be fun.
sounds fun.
Yeah.
So were you a selector when you came to Copenhagen in 2015?
Yeah, I was, but mostly for myself. I played a few times in Lisbon before when I lived there in 2010, like around then. And then when I lived in Berlin, I mean, you know, everyone's a DJ, so it wasn't really. I was mostly like, trying to figure out my life. I think.
What was your impression of the city's scene here, coming from Lisbon and Berlin and Venice?
Like when I moved here, I think. So I missed the Dunkel Radio, Dunkel Bar era, which was right before I moved here, I think. But then I definitely caught it Andersdale, which was it was insane. It was this I don't know if I can call it a warehouse project, I would say, in the outskirts of Copenhagen, or at least not in the center, right? Like a good 25 minutes bike ride in the cold. And that also meant that people were really dedicated. They know what they were going for. There was actually no picker, and it was not needed because it was so far that people respected the place. It was also insane. It was like a little utopic mess, like I don't know,
70 square meter utopian mess.
It was fun. It was great. I think the first place where I've been to when I moved here was Jolene, which also used to be an institution, at least. Where else could you go and like see, I don't know, Gerd Jansson for free for like 150 people? Like it was actually incredible. I really liked it. So yeah, I think since then probably has changed for the better, or like it has expanded a lot. There's a lot more. It's
different for sure.
Very different. So yeah, I think it. I mean, Copenhagen has evolved a lot in like a good way. I think, even though things are complaints, neighbor complaints, and things shutting down, like Motopole and New Little Club, which are the newest clubs we have. It's still like impressive that for the size like what we have is enough, and it's growing even more. I hope. I wish there was also maybe even more like variety in genre. Like, you know, Putti Club in Berlin, they have this like queer Latina reggaeton party. I could so see this happening at some point here. Something similar, I would love.
I think there's some communities who's already here nurturing
Yeah,
those kind of environments, right?
yeah.
So actually, fun story. I drove past the old It Estrella some weeks ago in my car, and back then, as you said, it was a warehouse. It was the old market for selling vegetables, I guess, and really low buildings, not very tall. And while we were partying there, they were building all around, like waiting for us, like the apocalypse, basically.
Yeah.
To get out, so you could actually see those rise gradually through the almost 2 years they were partying there. And when I drove past the other day, I couldn't recognize any of it. There's a little there now, just when you turn into the place, and there's a gas station.
Yeah,
and
I
I was
think
like, what is this? It's incredible.
I don't. I mean, I understand that like neighborhoods have like change and develop and whatever, and but the problem with Copenhagen is just like the new neighborhoods. They have no soul. They look all the same. Like they have this like newly built like apartments that have this like bricks. They all look the same, and there's nothing. There's not a corner shop that has a bit of personality. It's just like
So
very
I remember,
boring.
I don't know if you remember, but for those 2 good years where the club was at the abandoned warehouse, when you left the place, there was this really, like, not very well done graffiti stating "dødelig monoton," so deadly monotonous, I guess.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And that was it, like on just a piece of like wood that you use for a fence.
That was a prophecy.
That was a prophecy. Anyway, so what did you select back then in those days? And maybe more interesting, is there something that you would still play to this day? Because I mean, you sort of move on, like you also do with like whatever music that you like to listen to. Oh, that was what I listened to back when I was 18, when I was 22, blah blah. So, but is there something that you still? I mean, I'm pretty sure that you cherish it all very dearly, but
actually, yes. There's something. So the other day, so I'm playing back to back with Milo like in a few hours.
okay.
And then I was going through my classics folder, and then I found something that I actually used to play back then, that I want to play tonight. But
Ooh, can we?
yeah,
or do you,
sure.
Okay.
I mean, it's like I don't know if I'll play it, but
Okay.
if the mood is right,
The mood is right here, Carlo. So
So yeah, I actually wanted to play something else right now, but
yeah,
let's
sure.
go. Let's go.
No,
with,
you.
but
Okay,
let's go
okay.
with this
Now
instead.
I don't want to mislead
I just
you.
let's see if I remember when is it from.
Oh, he did his homework.
I had to take some notes.
Notes.
Oh yeah, that's literally a small note. So it's actually from '97 from Italy. So we're back to kind of almost where we started. But it's very different. It's like again, the lyrics are cheeky, I think. It's like
Shine
house,
over.
and it's just like it's a classic. I think the first time I heard it was on like a Mr. G mix or something.
And this was something that you also liked back then.
Yeah, for sure.
Sure.
I
And may
play-
play tonight.
I played it for a long time, and I haven't opened the classic folder in a long time. So
we have not all the time that we would love, so we have to sort of begin the track somewhere, some 1 minute in. I see the Carlo chose here. All right.
I can also just cut it shorter.
Ooh,
after.
and it's a mood to swing mix.
Yeah.
That's something I listened to when I just started, like American jazzy deep house stuff with some saxophones and very swingy. Okay.
Mr. Gorgeous. Oh, Mr. Gorgeous. wind as he passes by. They all sigh, ah, when he moves just like a panther. He feels your gaze but won't look at you. You won't get a smile 'cause it's really not his style at all. She's so slick and so curvaceous. The way she walks is quite contagious. Eager eyes follow her thighs and go, the way she moves.
So yeah, this is a Smoke CD, and it's a Mood to Swing.
Mr.
vocal-
Gorgeous.
Mr. Gorgeous and Miss Curvaceous. I don't know. It's again, I guess you can feel the cheekiness in here as well. Yes, and this is like something I haven't played in so many years, and I think maybe it fits the bedside lounge somewhere. Maybe.
I heard Milo play like a very modern, normal house
Yeah.
once, deep house. So if she's gonna go with that, then for sure. And so when was the last time you played this?
Oof. I don't know. 2016.
But I kind of love that you would still like enjoy it. What do you think? What does it make you feel? This kind of vibe, which is very different from what I normally hear you play.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I think we were just talking about something that I used to play back then, and coincidentally, it's something that we discovered right now that could fit tonight because it's like the launch of the new magazine from that side. So it's kind of this in between vibe, which is like, it's a bit like a classic house. It's a bit swinging, but like it has some cheekiness to it. Which is again something that it's my recurring theme. It's being cheeky.
I also think it has sort of like a very, not sort of, as a very much of a pop vibe. I mean, you almost have like pop music, a pop
Yeah.
vibe. You almost have a verse, chorus structure to it, which is something you don't hear that often
Yeah.
in club music. Nice track. Okay, Carlo, I know that you want to play much more music, and we spent the most
Yeah.
time talking here. Sorry.
Actually, I want to move into something like that
yeah.
I found out the other day at Proton, just in the second-hand bin.
Okay, I hate to do this hastily, but it's kind of my own fault because I also kept talking. But so if we take this is from your the start of your Copenhagen career. Now you want to play something you recently discovered.
Yeah.
Where did you find it?
This was just from a second-hand bin. Proton Records.
What do you do? How often do you go to the record shop?
I mean, I live pretty close, so I have some rules that I sometimes with we do 10 minutes in the second-hand bin. It's like
It's cute.
so we do that, but
and
this
then
is
you
like
have, then you have to get out or what?
yeah, it's because like it's also an expensive hobby, and you can really spend a lot of money. So
How
we
many
just
times a day can you do 10 minutes in the second-hand bin?
once a day only.
How many
I did
times?
it twice, like sometimes.
You go back?
Yeah, I went back.
That's
yeah.
nice. And you just found this recently?
Yeah, it's a compilation from 2000. It's actually called Y2K Naughty.
Alrighty, that's also a kind of actual. Carlos, so does this music is that music very different from the 2016-15 Carlo?
Very different.
Okay. How?
I mean, this is like, okay, so the whole compilation, it's in general, like, it's way more like Goa psytrance, which I can also appreciate. But
Did
like
you also appreciate it back then?
No, I don't think so. Not as much. But actually, what stayed with me from this compilation, it's mostly the down-tempo tracks that are in here. And especially this one is called Millennial Madness, which, you know, kind of says something about, you know, a lot of things, also me. It's by Brighton Trash Department. Also, you know, I don't know them really, but they have this track in their compilation. And yeah, I don't know, I feel like this track has a lot of contemporary elements, even though it's like from the 2000s. And it's like, it almost like, you can hear, it could be from like Tapestry of Sound or like Step Ball Chain, like, you know, the Rosa Terenzi labels. It really sounds like that. It's a little bit messier and a little bit more chaotic. It's something that I would have to probably plan into my set instead, and it would have to be the right moment. It's not something easy to play or anything. But I really enjoy it, so maybe you want to hear it.
Yes.
I'm
Not
just
that I had to think about that, but I just wanted to maybe ask another question, but we can take
Go
it
for
after.
it.
No, we can take it afterwards.
You can ask, because I need to find a second one in the queue. Anyway.
No, okay, now I'm holding both microphones. No, I'm gonna wait because you're also concentrated on finding the cue. Yeah. We don't have much time, Carlo. Can you put it on double tempo so we can hear it faster? Haha, joke. Okay. No. Really serious. No, not really. Okay, but you have to hurry. so I have one very eager artist with me here who really wants to play even more music, even though we don't have much time. So I'm not gonna talk too much. But that's also what happens when you meet fellow nerds. Like you just, but you have to listen to this one as well. But also this one is so cool, whatever, and so on. So I totally get it. Yes, sounding very contemporary, even though it's old. And I think you said something before that kind of encapsulates what that means. That it's sort of messy, in a way, because it's not that the structure of the song is messy, but maybe also the production or some of it is a little bit more messy than what you would hear nowadays, where you would have very similar sounds, sounds that are not original at all. Sorry, folks, but it's not. But it's way better produced.
It's more tight.
It's much more tight and clean.
Definitely.
And there's no odd breaks where like that's. If that break wasn't there, it would be a good track, because you know those tracks from back in the days where like, this is so awesome, then what the fuck is that synth, right?
I feel like that's how you start wanting to make music, right? When you start noticing like, oh, this track would be so perfect if, that's when you're like, okay, fuck, maybe I need to sit down
and do it myself.
Yeah.
It's much more, it's way more controlled, I think, for good and for bad, because there's also a lot of music being put out, which has been always that is also very boring and generic, I think.
But this was not boring, I think. To
not
me,
at all.
I really.
If in doubt, not boring.
Yeah.
That was not what was referred to here. No. Anyway, so I will let you. I want to speak more about that, Carlo, because that is actually what the show is about. But since you are so dedicated, I will let you play music for the last remaining minutes of our show here. So, Carlo, thank you so much for coming.
Is this the last track?
This is the last track. Yeah, we spent an hour already just hanging out and having fun. But thank you so much for coming and for sharing. And I want to ask you so many more questions and hear more stories and more from your musical catalog. But we can't make it. So thank you again very much for coming. And with that said, you have the final word and tell us what we're listening to here, and maybe even what we should pay special attention to in this track.
I feel like I'm gonna say goodbye with this track that's coming out tomorrow. It's on CC Disco's new label called Miami Daddy. I think I'll let her explain why the label is called Miami Daddy, because it's a fun story behind, but I don't think we have time to get into that. But the lyrics on this track, actually the voice is from Jennifer Loveless, who's like my really good friend. And she wrote the lyrics while she was drunk in the U-Bahn in one take. And I think the lyrics are just brilliant. And it overall is like, it's a pretty chill track, very like hopeful, big summer release feeling, like very, very chilled. But like the lyrics are very beautiful. It talks about magic is in the tempo, and I mean, you can, if you have time to decode the lyrics, I suggest to have a proper listen to them. And that was it. I mean, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming, Carlo.
Shit, it's the wrong channel.
Magic in the tempo, the speed of your body with mine. The magic is in the trance, the one you have love. The magic is in us together, in the way that we do. The magic is ever present. Baby, don't break the spell. Magic is in the tempo, the speed of your body with mine. Magic is in the trance, the one you have me in. The magic is in us together, in the way that we do. The magic is ever present. Baby, don't break the spell. Magic is in the trance. The one you have me in. Baby, don't break the spell.